Nirvana speaks the oracle, and I am saved. Thank you, listener, for memory.
The presenting problem is we have a consensus reality that's very Johnny One Note. It's very horizontal. It's very homeostatically tightly wrapped, and it is, has its own immune system, its own antibodies. It is evolutionarily obliged to adaptively do all in its power functionally to stay the same, to perpetuate itself, to not die. It's not suicidal. Healthy structure and function is not suicidal. But I would think the healthy structure and function ideally is not just not suicidal, or not just wanting to perpetuate itself. It's wanting to change and better and grow itself and evolve itself and get closer to source and more congruent and more service to other and more of loving heart and more large-minded and problem-solving capacity and more resources to draw from, more degrees of freedom. I mean, I remember when I was first studying a lot of Piaget's work when I became a professor at Rutgers University, and I realized that Piaget was their local god, and if I wanted to get on the right side of these people and sit still for any of my nonsense, I sure as hell better sit still for their nonsense. It wasn't nonsense, but it was Piaget. And so I studied a great deal of Piaget. He's good. It's useful. Play, imagination, play. He has a lot of good things to say about a lot of things that are interesting to me personally. Anyway, at one point he's talking about intelligence. I may be taking some liberties here, but at one point he said, intelligence is how much you have to bring to a problem, presenting problem. The more you can bring to it, for purposes of problem solving, divergent production, to generate, brainstorming possibilities that then can be brought to bear to test against to see what's useful and not with regard to it, the more intelligent you are. I mean, if you're a slug, or if you're a stingray, or if you are a dog, I mean, there's exceptions to this, but there's extreme limitations on what you have to bring to the situation. You act like a dodo. Doesn't compute. Although, even the lab rat scientists have learned that when you do drive reduction and do reinforcement, and conditioning, operant conditioning, you can use, to a certain extent, novelty. An animal as hungry as you've made it be, or thirsty as you made it be, in order to react as a good subject to your reinforcement, or your withholding, or your punishment, or whatever, still it will turn around and orient to something novel in the environment, because novelty is part of the adaptive openness that we have our antennae out, because we could die by not looking at what's new or different, what mismatches in the pattern matching, that's incongruous, that's anomalous. Now, our scientists could stand to learn something from that, because as Thomas Kuhn in his Structure of Scientific Revolution said, it's the anomalies that is presented to the scientists and the general community at large that hold within them the seeds for the paradigm shifts that evolve science periodically in these discontinuities to a higher, more inclusive, more veridical path that is better science and more is kept honest by a larger database and a larger experiential and experimental base, and phenomenological base for that matter too, than it was that which was hitherto the case before it partook of and accommodated in Piagetian terms to the anomalies that up until then the attitude that scientific community at any one time tends to have, the establishment has toward the anomalies, is bullshit, that's anomalies, inexplicable, I can't be bothered with that, you can't get grant money for that, you can't really help people if you study that, it's an anomaly. Our current paradigm can't explain it, therefore it's an anomaly by definition, but I can't be bothered with that. Plus, an anomaly probably means it's a figment of your imagination, it's delusional, what have you been drinking, what's in your coffee, and on and on and on like that. It's a snobbish attitude that doesn't want to tolerate, it's a defensive attitude, and it's a homeostatically very tightly wrapped attitude toward anomalousness. Now, people like me, I eat anomalies for breakfast, throw me into the anomalous briar patch, and I just have endless degrees of freedom and fun. I don't know if I can stay in there forever, but I think a daily dose of it would be very good. But unless and until our current science opens to and accommodates the existing anomalies that stay obdurately there, whether they're crop circles, or the siddhas, or miracles, or breatharians, or out-of-body experiences, or near-death experiences, reports from them that really are disconcerting to the physicians. The reports that they were brain dead and they should have been processing the information and making memories out of it, but they come back and lo and behold, it did happen while they were on their watch when they were brain dead. And so how do you explain that, physical reductionist? consciousness and everything else being an emergent epiphenomenon of viable brain. You had no viable brain. So I think there are going to be some breakthroughs, some things you can't keep the finger in the dike and hold the stuff back forever in our lifetimes. Hopefully, the sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned. So here you've got consensus reality. How do you wake up from it? You can go around like Paul Revere, whatever the metaphor was, try to wake people up, with your lantern or whatever. Wake up, wake up. The good news that can set you free is coming, or look what's happening, the global warming, look what's happening, the food shortage, look what's happening, and the rampant terrorism, look what's happening, the insanity of man's inhumanity to man, growing insanity, etc., etc. The stuckness of that, the psychopathology of everyday life of Freud is moving to true psychopathology of today's life more and more. Drive-by shootings, the senselessness. People say, well, the demons took them over. It's possession. There's demons. The dark side's coming in. Kind's attracting kind. We're getting so dark here that we're sucking in the demons through the veil from the astral plane, the lower astral, or something. Perfectly reasonable competing hypothesis. I think part of that's true, but not. You can't paint everything with that brush. I don't find it a very interesting brush because you're tending to give it too much power to that cast of characters, and they don't deserve it. They need to be healed and helped and loved and brought up a bit, and not tune into their dramas so much that you forget the station you should be tuned to. The should being with quotes around it for me.
The flood will come, but you must not forget the oracle. You can say